The wind-off whispering sound carried the brine-scented breath of the narrow sea across the low islands and through the towering bodies of the ancient oaks that flanked the Honeywine. It rolled in long sighs beneath the morning sun, rustling banners atop the high tower, stirring the woolen cloaks of dockhands who cursed as they hauled barrels of arbor wine up gangplanks slippery with frost. Gulls wheeled in lazy spirals above the river mouth, their cries drowned beneath the ceaseless creak of masts. Oldtown awakened slowly, reluctantly, like some Musladin leviathan shrugging off dreams too deep to name. And in the highest galleries of the Citadel, where the air smelled of parchment, dust, and lanolin from talifabbed candles, the wind arrived as a timid whisper, tasting of salt and distance and secrets. Samwell Tarley felt it first upon his cheek, a cool stroke through a half-opened, rose-carved casement in the library of Archmaester Astamont. He had been dozing upright, chin balanced on a stack of vellum folios, and the chill startled him more than the crack of even Sir Alazar's knuckles ever had. His eyes darted to the parchment before him, lines of Valyrian glyphs blurred by bleariness and cramped study. He blinked until the marks held shape again, draconic in aspect. Each sigil curled like hooked tails or flared like wings. Some sections burned red with rubrication that someone, perhaps long dead, perhaps merely promoted, had scrawled in warning. Gildrim, Valerian, Vihar, names best left to silence. He rubbed the sleep from his eyes. His fingers smelled faintly of wax and lamp oil. Beneath his nails lingered the grit of powdered stone from an hour spent in the reliquary vaults. He had meant only to examine the fragments of the glass candles, 4 shards of obsidian rumored to answer Marwyn's still-smoking black flame. But down there, in the vault black, as the belly of the world, he had found something else. A battered coil of beaten bronze, lodged behind a casket of dried wyvern wings. It was no larger than a man's thumb, twisted into a serpent biting its tail, surface eaten by green and black oxidation. Yet beneath the rot, he thought he saw scales incised with uncanny craftsmanship. A tag of yellowed leather dangled from a copper wire. Horn unverified, property of L. Intherus, 62 AC. Sam had tucked the coil into the sleeve of his robe. Now it pressed against his wrist like a secret brand. Every heartbeat seemed to rasp against the hollow bronze, and the horn, or what had once been a horn, throbbed with a pulse that felt alien to his blood. He wondered if he imagined it. He wondered if imagination mattered when wonders were real, when he himself had stood beside a white walker on the fist of the first men, when he had slain the creature with a dagger of dragonglass that sang when cold kissed it. Wonder required no permission. He laid a hand over the coil inside his sleeve and looked again at the glyphs. The text was a partial copy from Colloquo Votar's Jade Compendium, a tome known to maesters only in rumor. It spoke of horns that bent beasts, of songs that birthed storms, of names older than old Valyria. Yet marginal notes, in a crabbed Reachman hand, insisted Votar had embroidered half his accounts, gilding drunken tales told by mariners who salted every meal with lies. Sam's own experience with sailors left him more willing to believe the unimaginable. The sea was wide, the world wider still, and truth yet wider than both. Footfalls sounded in the corridor. Soft, measured, too deliberate to belong to an acolyte racing between lectures. Sam froze, quill poised mid-hair. The door swung inward, hinges squealing protest despite the library's hushing presence. Archmaester Ibros entered, robes of gray and white fur brushing the threshold like fog. "Up with the dawn, are we, Samwell?" His voice, gentle though cracked with age, betrayed no surprise. Sam dipped his head, cheeks warming. "Archmaester, I could not sleep." Ibros's pale eyes flicked to the stack of folios. The compendium, fragments. Astamont keeps them near his heart. He will not relish a novice thumbing them. "I borrowed them for but an hour. I intend to return them unharmed." He swallowed. "Knowledge belongs to all, does it not?" "Knowledge, yes. Dangerous knowledge, perhaps not." Ibros stepped past him and closed the window, shutting out the seaward wind. The latch clicked like a lock. The Valyrians pried open doors better left closed, and look where their curiosity led. A city of towers melted like tallow beneath too bright a fear. Sam followed the old man's gaze to the folios. He longed to protest that study itself held no malice, that fear of knowledge bred ignorance, and ignorance was a darker blade by far. Yet his heart hammered too loudly. The coil pulsed beneath his sleeve. He felt each thump as a quiet drumming on bone, as if a creature trapped within asked release. Abraz's nostrils flared. "You smell like black oil and something older. Brine, perhaps? Have you been at the river?" "Only in the vaults," Sam said quickly, then bit his tongue. The Archmaester's brow arched. "Vaults? Which vaults?" Sam fumbled for words. "The eastern subcrypts. Archmaester Marwyn left instructions that I should become familiar with the lesser catalogues of Valyrian curiosities. A partial truth at best. Marwyn had indeed pressed him toward deeper learning, though by what right Sam could not name. Abros sighed. "Marwyn's games. He treats the Citadel as a board for his dragon little wars. Very well. But mind the line between curiosity and folly. These are days when the realm trembles. Oldtown stands because its scholars remember when to look away." Sam watched him depart, robes whispering across the rushes. Only when the latch clicked again did he exhale. The room felt colder, though the window remained sealed. He touched the coil. It no longer thrummed. It lay inert as any corroded remnant. He wondered whether the presence of authority had stifled whatever force hid inside, or had his fear smothered it, as a trembling hand might smother a candle. He slipped the coil into the pocket stitched at his hip, and gathered the folios. Outside, the hall rang with bells. First hour. The call to morning lessons. Novices scuttled in dusky robes, puffing like frightened sparrows. Pat the novice, once a swaggering rooster at the quill and tankard, crossed himself when he saw Sam, and muttered about leaden skies that bore ill omens. The sun shone bright through mullioned windows, yet Pat's terror stirred something inside Sam, a nagging sense that unseen clouds massed above them, heavy with iron rain. At the refectory, stewed oats cooled untasted in Sam's bowl. All around him, maesters and novices spoke of the raven from Dragonstone, of Aegon's rumored heirs contesting the Iron Throne, of darker tidings from the north. Whites at Eastwatch, winds that howled like wolves. Sam's spoon clinked once, twice, but he did not lift it. He heard instead the sea, faint as memory. Inside the battered coil, it beckoned him, a promise of power or ruin. He had lived his life beneath the shadow of fear. Fear of his father's scorn, of swords, of heights, of the dark between heartbeats. But fear, he had learned beyond the wall, could be met and mastered. That mastery had given him courage enough to face whites, to carry Gilly and her babe through frozen wastes. Could he carry that courage into the very heart of knowledge, where maesters quailed? He rose without finishing his meal. The clatter of his wooden bench was the only protest any made to his departure. He walked a corridor lined with marble busts, faces chipped, names half-worn. On the far wall hung a tapestry depicting Huger of the Hill, kneeling before Garth Greenhand, threads fading crimson to rust. Behind it, a narrow stair spiraled downward, lit by torches guttering in unseen drafts. Sam descended. Deeper than deep, the Citadel burrowed beneath the high tower into earth, soft with centuries of silt. Doors barred passage at intervals, oak bound in black iron, each marked with sigils of the disciplines: sword, flame, gear, quill. But the door he sought bore no sigil, only a single shard of pale glass fused into the lintel. He pressed his chain to the lock. Iron links of Raven and Winter yielded grudging permission. The door groaned open. Air within carried the chill of catacombs and the faint tang of brimstone. He lifted a torch. Shelves packed floor to vaulting ceiling with reliquaries, scroll tubes, jars of cloudy liquids, winged beasts preserved in amber resin, stones that pulsed with faint inner light. So many marvels, each sealed behind dusty glass. He felt like a mouse in some grand collector's menagerie, yet he moved with purpose. At the far end, set upon a plinth, lay Dragonbinder. He had seen it once before, when Marwyn revealed it as one might reveal a secret murder victim. Quickly, hungrily, with a thrill of illicit pride. "Hearken, boy," the mage had said, brushing its ridged flank. "This horn can wake dragons." Its length spanned 8 feet, black glass veined with red. Razor-edged glyphs raced its coil. Valyrian phrases spelling blood, bind, bellow. When Sam's gaze traced them, his eyes watered as if from smoke. Now alone he approached. The horn exuded a gravity that bent light, a glamour of dread. He remembered the corpse of the sailor at Slaver's Bay. Lungs molten, lips cracked and blistered, victim to a single call. The tale said Dragonbinder slew the man who sounded it, yet the dragon obeyed the horn's true master. Who was master here? Samwell Tarly, sworn to the Night's Watch yet bearing no black since crossing thousands of leagues? Or did the horn obey only those of Valyrian blood? Daenerys, or Aegon if he lived? Or some hidden scion nestled among warlocks? His fingers tingled where he touched its rim. He did not intend to blow it. Not yet. Instead, he withdrew the small corroded coil. Compared to Dragonbinder, it seemed a worm beside a kraken. Yet etched patterns along its arc echoed the great horn. Scaled motifs, lines curling into draconic eyes. He set it against Dragonbinder's flank. A shiver passed through the massive horn, like a harp string plucked by unseen hand. The red veins glowed, faint at first, then brightening until they rivaled banked embers. Sam jerked his hand away. Footsteps scraped stone behind him. He spun, torch casting reeling shadows. Archmaester Marwyn emerged from darkness. Lamp in one hand, the other closed about a dagger-like shard of obsidian. His grin split his weathered face. "I wondered how long until curiosity overcame caution," he rasped. "Show me what you found, boy." Sam's throat dried. He offered the coil. Marwyn took it gingerly, turned it beneath his lamp. "Ah, a fragment, yet whole within itself. Do you recognize the sigils?" "Some," Sam admitted. "They matched those on Dragonbinder." "Not match, complete." Marwyn pressed the coil against a notch near Dragonbinder's wide bell. Metal and glass fit with an audible click, as though waiting centuries for reunion. The entire horn trembled. Echoes rattled along racks of relics. Somewhere above, bells tolled second hour. Their bronze tongues seemed to falter mid-peal, overtaken by a deeper resonance thrumming from the chamber floor. Sam felt it in his bones, in the tiny hairs along his forearms. The horn did not sound, yet it sang inside flesh and marrow. Marwyn's lamp guttered. Shadows danced crazily across shelves. In a jar to Sam's left, a shriveled wyvern fetus uncoiled, eyes opening luminous violet. Its claws scraped glass in slow terror. Marwyn's grin broadened. "The world is in motion now. Can you feel it? Oldtown slumbers while dragons stir. This horn will wake them." Sam swallowed bile. "It kills the man who blows it. Kills weak men." Marwyn's gaze bored into him. "But a man who has walked with death across frozen empires returns tempered. You killed a White Walker. Few living can claim as much." Sam remembered the terror of that night. But he had not been tempered, only lucky and desperate and guided by old magic etched in obsidian. Still, the memory steadied him. Fear met. Fear mastered. "What would you have me do?" he asked. Marwyn's answer was simple. "Sound it." Sam recoiled. "Here? In the vaults?" A shrug. "Better here than the harbor. We sit atop the honey wine. If fire comes, water quenches. And if water fails, Oldtown will serve as crucible for fate." Thaw. Sam's heart pounded. He imagined Gilly's soft smile, her babe-sucking thumb. He imagined Maester Aemon's eyes, blind yet bright with memory of dragons. He could not balance such lives on the rim of a horn. "We should learn first," he said. "Records speak of victims. Lungs burnt, tongues charred. Howard's demise." "I will teach you the breathing of the Red Priests," Marwyn promised. "I learned it in Ashai. It steels the throat, cools the lung, You will be as copper tubing for Dragonfire boy." "I'm not a boy," Sam whispered. "But neither am I a mage." He looked past the Archmaester, into the gloom of alcoves where secrets slept. "The horn calls dragons. There are none in Oldtown." Marwen's lamp flickered. "You assume, but Oldtown was once the seat of the Blackfire pretender who courted pirates from the Basilisk Isles. Some claim he smuggled dragon seeds, eggs perhaps, or hatchlings, into the tunnels beneath Battle Isle. Fires long cold can flare anew if fed with breath and blood." Sam felt dizzy. Eggs in the dark. After all these centuries, one egg is all it takes. Dragons do not measure time as we. Marwen gestured toward the horn. "Sound it, and we shall see what stirs." The horn pulsed with light, a heart forging itself from glass and fire. Sam stepped forward as though drawn by a tether. For a moment, he saw himself reflected along its polished curves, round face pale, eyes wide. He looked nothing like a hero, yet the horn's reflection crowned him in wreaths of red light. He set a hand upon its flank. It was warm. "Do not fear," Marwen urged. Sam lifted the massive weight. Ridges cut his palms, drawing thin lines of blood. The horn hummed, drank, warmed further. He positioned its mouthpiece to his lips. An odor of brimstone and roses filled his nostrils. He drew a breath. A shriek of grinding stone erupted overhead. Dust rained from the ceiling. Torchlight flared and gutters died. Darkness embraced them, broken only by crimson veins coursing through the horn, their glow rising toward blinding. Marwen shouted something drowned beneath a growl that did not belong in any cellar. It was the rumble of mountains waking, of ships cracking against reefs, of beasts that remembered the dawn of flame. Sam's breath stalled. He lowered the horn. The growl faded to a distant echo. Silence pressed like deep water. "Not yet," Marwen said, voice gleeful. "The dragon hears, but slumbers. We need a true call." Sam's knuckles whitened around the horn. Sweat beaded, cooling atop fear. Somewhere above, bells tolled again. Third hour already? Or did time falter within these depths? Murmurs reached them. Distant alarm, running feet. Oldtown sensed a tremor. "We must wait," Sam said. "Prepare. Wait too long and others will seize what we dare." Marwen's eyes shone. The Iron Throne, the wall, the world. They all stand upon the cusp. A dragon in Oldtown tips the balance. Another tremor shook the vault. Jars shattered, spilling bones like ivory rain. Candles toppled. A ripple of sparks hissed across spilled oil. Sam instinctively raised the horn as if shielding himself. The ridges cut deeper into his skin, but the pain felt remote. He sensed instead a mind, vast, alien, slumbering, roused by distant scent of blood. His blood. The horn throbbed approval. "Soon," he whispered. Marwen clasped his shoulder. "We shall ascend the starry sept tonight. A horn blast that will carry across seas and skies alike." "Nand." Sam nodded, though terror coiled within him. He helped the Archmaester gather shards, right toppled shelves. Above, alarms grew louder. Somewhere, water sloshed as a cistern cracked. Yet the Citadel's stones held. When they emerged from the crypts, sunlight through clerestory windows slanted gold, but dust motes whirled in uneasy spirals. Novices rushed with sloshing pails. A statue of Uther of the high tower lay toppled, its granite head split upon marble floor. "Earthquake?" one acolyte panted when Sam inquired. Like none in living memory. Sam and Marwen exchanged glances. Neither spoke. They parted in the courtyard. Marwen toward the alchemy labs to fetch incenses, Sam toward his cell to rest, or so he claimed. In truth, he sought Gilly. He found her in the novice's infirmary, soothing a boy whose leg lay shattered. She smiled when she saw Sam, relief shining through worry. He kissed her brow, breathing in the scent of her hair, lavender and tallow, and the littlest hint of mother's milk. He wondered if dragons smelled such sweetness before they raised towns. "Will it be all right?" She asked of the trembling towers and shouts. Yes, he lied. A tremor only. She watched his face, reading secrets he prayed she could not know. He squeezed her hand. Tonight, keep to the high tower's lower halls. The stones are thick there. I will, she promised. He wanted to tell her more, but words choked behind the image of her burnt-in dragon fire. Instead, he pressed his brow to hers, lingered. Then he left. Dusk found him atop the starry sept. Gulls nested in cracked saints' palms, their wings ghost-pale. Clouds banked western sky, purple bruise above the sunset. The city below glittered with lamplight, 1,000 wicks trembling like souls. On the parapet, Marwyn traced runes in chalk, setting braziers that burned green and blue. Flames licked salt-soaked timber, hissed. Sam hefted Dragonbinder. The horn seemed lighter now, as though desire buoyed it. He positioned his feet, filling his lungs with air tasting of myrrh and pepper, and the sea's distant roar. A hush fell across Oldtown. Bells stilled, gulls silenced, waters calmed. Even the wind paused as though the world itself held breath. Sam placed the mouthpiece to his lips. He remembered every beat of fear he had conquered. His father's glare, the screech of wights, the long night along the fist. He let them burn away, fanned by courage drawn from Gilly's smile, from Joan's friendship, from the wisdom of maesters dead and living. He exhaled into the horn. No mortal sound answered. Instead, the heavens cracked. A pulse of night-black light burst from the horn, spiraling skyward like a reversed thunderbolt. It struck clouds. They flamed incandescent red, glowing from within as if filled with fortifier. A boom followed. Deeper than thunder, older than storms, a note that carried the weight of volcano hearts. Sam staggered, yet the horn remained pressed to his lips, air drawn from him in rending tides. His lungs burned, but not with pain, more like embers stoking within his ribs. He felt his flesh thinning, his blood boiling into steam, yet he stood unbowed. The pulse rose, widening across the firmament, a crimson wheel spinning lazily before bursting outward. Its light bathed sea and land. Ships out upon the whispering sound kindled like lamps, their sails crimson banners. Windows along the Honeywine shattered inwards. Dogs howled, babes wailed, candles guttered. The horn's note faded into echoes that seemed to circle the world. Sam lowered it, chest heaving. He tasted copper on his tongue. Marwyn's face, lit by braziers, looked whiter than bone. Look, the mage whispered. Sam turned eastward. Beyond the high tower's silver flame over the dark waters where the Honeywine met the sea, a glow stirred beneath the waves. At first, it shimmered silver, like moonlight trapped within glass. Then it brightened, gold, then red, then white. The surface bulged. Water hissed steam. Something vast rose, sloughing rivers, scales catching starlight. A neck, ridged and cathedral tall, arched above the sea. Eyes opened, twin furnaces reflecting Sam's own fear. Wings unfolded, membranes ragged, yet spanning 100 heartbeats. The beast exhaled, and flame hotter than Taroshi hellfire gouted skyward, igniting drifting clouds into auroras of blood. Oldtown screamed. Sam's knees quaked. The dragon, not a hatchling, not some skulking cellar spawn, towered above islands, claws scoring stone. It roared, and the roar carried the horn's echo. Command recognized, bond sealed. Marwyn exhaled a trembling laugh. A wild worm indeed. Balerian's lost kin perhaps. Gods forgive me, we have done it. Sam tasted ashes on the wind, though no flame yet touched them. The dragon beat its wings once, twice, each stroke birthing tempests that shattered ships against docks. It rose slowly, cumbersome, with long sleep's lethargy. Yet it rose. Sam clutched Dragonbinder. The horn pulsed with pride. He felt its desire. To master, to command, to claim. What now? He asked, voice barely sound. Marwyn's answer was swallowed by the dragon's descending shadow. The creature wheeled toward the starry sept, jaws yawning wider than gates of kings. Fire bloomed bright enough to turn night to dawn. And Samwell Tarly, wrapped in courage and fear, and the trembling call of dragons, braced himself for fate's unrelenting blaze. Behind, smoke churned in towering pillars that veiled the heavens, dimming even the moon's crescent, so that the night over Oldtown seemed to breathe in shadow. The dragon's first exhalation had seared the upper spires of the starry sept, and molten lead from its roof dripped like candle wax onto the cobbles below. Bells once cast to summon the faithful, now twisted and sang shrill metallic screams as they melted, puddling around the marble feet of saints whose faces blistered in holy silence. Embers drifted on the wind, swirling flocks of tiny red stars that settled upon everything. Roof tiles, banners, cloaks, the trembling hands of frightened girls clutching mothers' skirts. And wherever they landed, they flickered and died, leaving memories of heat upon skin and stone. Samwell Tarly coughed, lungs raw with smoke, and the strange aftertaste of the horn's magic still clinging to his throat. Dragonbinder weighed his arms to numbness, yet he would not let it fall. It pulsed in his grip like a living limb, demanding purpose. Each beat of its dark heart felt synchronized with the thunder of the dragon's wings above. He could sense, more than hear, the Wyrm's fury, an orchestra of cracking timbers, shattering glass, and the far-off roar of warehouses along the harbor, erupting in sheets of green flame, where casks of volatile oils burst apart. Oldtown's night watchmen raced through squares, banging gongs in panicked rhythm, but their alarm was dwarfed by the bass roar of the creature that had risen from the sea. Marwyn stood beside Sam, cloaked in a haze of soot, face lit by reflections of infernal red. He looked less like an archmaester, and more like some grimy prophet dredged from a volcanic fissure. His laughter had died the instant fire scorched the sept. Now his lips twitched between glee and terror, as though two opposing tides fought within his soul. He clutched his obsidian shard close to his heart, chanting under his breath, Valerian phrases peppered with meanings too heavy for any single tongue. Sam caught only fragments. Blood for blood, flame for flame, bind the storm unto the chain. Each whispered line trembled in the air, vibrating against the horn's silent cry. Rubble clattered down the sept marble stairs as a flight of septons and novice acolytes fled in blind fright. One old septon tripped upon a fallen beam and tumbled across the yard. His white robes caught a stray ember. They flared up in seconds, wrapping him in a robe of living light. His scream lanced Sam's heart, but the glare forced Sam's eyes to turn away lest it blind him utterly. Somewhere, a child wailed for its mother. Somewhere else, a war horn of the city watch brayed a ragged call. But no response came. Order had drowned beneath the tide of the beast's awakening. Sam's thoughts scattered like ashes. Why had Dragonbinder called such a monster? He had summoned a dragon, yes, but not regal regal or gentle silver-scaled hatchlings from dusty scrolls. This was a relic of the Dawn Age, scarred plates of midnight crystal, wings tattered as battle rags yet broad enough to shadow the harbor. Smoke seeped from the cracks between scales like breath from a banked kiln. Its eyes were twin comets of furnace gold, and when they settled upon the high tower, Sam's blood iced. A single lazy beat of those wings, and the beast glided off, as silent as death itself, toward the lighthouse whose flaring beacon crowned Oldtown's nights for thousands of years. Marwyn seized Sam's sleeve. "It seeks the true signal," the Archmaester rasped. "The flame atop the high tower is bright as a dragon's egg. It will be drawn to it, must be harnessed before it burns the tower and half the city beside." "How?" Sam coughed. "The horn? Will it obey a second call?" "One call was the greeting," Marwyn answered. "A second is command. A third, lordship." His eyes gleamed fever-wild. "If your lungs survive the first, they might yet endure the next." Sam gazed at the horn, now slick with sweat and soot. Blood too, thin rivulets from where its razor glyphs had etched his palms. He felt dizzy, as if every drop lost fed the horn's thirst instead of the cobbles. Above, the Wyrm's silhouette eclipsed the moon entirely, banking in majestic silence around the high tower. Windows began to shatter along its upper courses one by one, as glass boiled inside frames. Sam heard explosions. Glass greenhouses hundreds of feet below bursting from internal gales of heat, their shards tinkling like rainfall. If he waited, Oldtown would burn. The library quarter, where Gilly sheltered with the babe, was little more than tinder beneath such wrath. He thought of her milky smile, the tiny hand of her son curling around Sam's thumb. Resolve crystallized like ice hardening upon steel. "I need clear air," he said. "Smoke chokes the breath." "There is a rampart east of the sept," Marwyn replied, eyes never leaving the circling dragon. "High enough, facing the harbor winds. Go. I shall follow with incense and the words to bind. Keep the horn steady." Sam nodded once and turned, wading through drifts of cinders. Statues toppled, doors hung blackened on bronze hinges warped by heat. He descended part of the sept's western stair, then veered left down a colonnaded arcade, where pink marble pillars glowed angrily. Dead doves littered the floor, feathers singed away to leave skeletal wings fused to bones. He covered his mouth with a sleeve, but each breath still tasted of burning feathers and copper. He emerged upon a bastion overlooking the river. Night wind howled off the whispering sound, cool and salty, clearing smoke in ragged gusts. Below, boats floundered as crews cut moorings in frantic bid to escape the harbor. Some succeeded, oars churning like desperate spider legs against the tide. Others lay capsized, masts snapped, their sails smoldering from sparks that had rained down like comets. Crimson reflections quavered upon the river's surface where blazing warehouses cast dancing veils of light. The honey wine no longer sparkled. It boiled in places, jets of steam sighing upward. Sam planted his feet. The crenellations of the bastion reached only his chest, but still offered shelter from stray embers. He lifted Dragonbinder, arms trembling with exhaustion, but with stealing sinew anew. The horn's ridges bit deeper. He accepted the pain. Above, the Wyrm perched upon the high tower's pinnacle. Enormous talons gouged through white marble to grip the beacon like claws about an egg. The great flame within the beacon's brazier flared fierce under the dragon's breath, then guttered and died, smothered by ash gusting from its lungs. Darkness blanketed the harbor. Only the glow of burning warehouses and the dragon's own internal furnace lit the sky now. The city groaned beneath the loss of its centuries-old light, as though Oldtown's very heart had flickered out. Sam drew a single, long breath. He felt veins on his forehead tighten, lungs expanding painfully, ribs distending nearer to cracking. The air tasted of salt. Somewhere inside the horn, something stirred. Recognition. Hunger. He put the mouthpiece to chapped lips. Marwyn's voice rose behind him, chanting the Valyrian cycle. Zobril Barlyagon, Jurer Elva, Costilus. Blood for binding, bend thy wings, obey. Sam exhaled. Sound did not pour forth, not as a trumpet might. Instead, the horn drank his breath with ravenous force, a tide pulling out to sea. His chest caved until spine protested, yet still it drew more, greedy as wildfire drinks pitch. Searing heat filled his throat, but this time it was colder than the first, like liquid ice scarring tissue raw. His eyes watered. Tears dried instantly to salt crystals upon cheeks. A tone, deep and mournful, blossomed within the stonework under his feet. It vibrated through every mortar joint, across the bastion, down into the serpentine network of tunnels beneath the Citadel. Lamps far below flickered in unison, as oil sloshed. The very city shuddered, not with quake's violence, but with resonance, as if each street had become a string tuned to this terrible key. The dragon atop the tower jerked its head, golden eyes snapping open wider. Its wings unfurled, catching moonlight in tattered membrane veins. With a hiss like tectonic plates grinding, it crawled downward, talons carving screeches along marble, until it leapt free and glided toward Sam's bastion. Sam felt the creature's mind brush his own, a storm front devouring clear sky, swirling with ancient instincts. Hunger, loneliness, confused rage. Yet within that maelstrom, Dragonbinder's call inserted a single icy filament of command, threading through furious thought like a needle in cloth. The more Sam blew, the tighter that thread drew. He sensed the dragon's confusion twist gradually to focus, to curiosity, to grudging recognition. The horn's glyphs blistered his palms. Blood sizzled where it struck the red-hot letters. But he did not release. He breathed until blackness ringed his vision and ribs screamed. Finally, his lungs emptied beyond emptiness, his mind teetering on the precipice of oblivion. He staggered, knees buckling. The horn slipped, clanged against stone, rolled. Silence fell. Sam collapsed, gasping raggedly. Air returned in small stabs, every inhalation like glass shards dragging down his throat. Stars wheeled overhead in dizzy spirals. Marwyn knelt beside him, pressing a flask to his lips. Cool water flavored with mint. Sam swallowed, coughed. The burning eased. Together, they looked skyward. The dragon hovered above the bastion, wings beating slow, titanic pulses of wind. Its head dipped low, close enough Sam felt gusts of furnace breath brush his face. Hot, but not scalding. The creature's great golden eyes fixed on him, vertical pupils narrowing to slits. It sniffed, nostrils flaring, sampling the blood upon his hands. Marwyn murmured a final phrase. I cozy Jemo Jebagon, know thy rider. The dragon's ponderous head tilted, ears, or the tiny ridges that served as such, twitching. Its jaws parted. Inside burned a forge glow, but no flame emerged. Instead, a throaty rumble like purring thunder rolled forth. The beast folded wings partly and alighted on the bastion's outer courtyard. The stones groaned beneath its weight yet held. Smoke curled lazily between its dorsal plates, swirling in loops that echoed the horn's own coils. Sam rose shakily. Marwyn steadied him but said nothing, awed. The dragon lowered its head once, a motion both wary and oddly respectful. Sam lifted one blood-coated hand. The dragon sniffed again. Its breath stank of brimstone and brine, and yet faintly, of pine resin, odd as that seemed. He touched its muzzle. Memory flooded him. Cold nights north of the wall, Ghost's hot breath on his wrist, the trembling trust of creature to man. But this was no direwolf. Scale felt like volcanic glass, warm and ridged, humming softly. He exhaled. Peace, he whispered, though voice little more than rasp. He did not know if dragons understood words, but the intent lay bare. The worm's eye blinked once. A membrane clear as icy water slid sideways over the gleaming orb. A sudden clang of steel echoed. Sam turned. Dozens of gold-cloaked guardsmen flooded the yard. Men of the Hightower household. Breastplates emblazoned with lighthouse sigils. Swords drawn. At their head strode Sir Brynden Hightower, nephew to Lord Leighton. His voice boomed across the smoking yard. Step away from that beast. He pointed a longsword straight at Sam's breast. Release your sorcery, or we put you both to torch. Sam's heart hammered. The dragon's hackles, if such things existed, seemed to rise. Scales along its spinal ridge flared open, each one reflecting firelight like mirror shards. A growl stuttered in its throat, building quickly toward flame. Marwyn hissed. Fools. One breath and you, your tower, your entire lineage cook inside those pretty helms. Sir Brynden advanced, visor raised, expression twisted between fear and duty. Oldtown burns already. If we do not act, it dies for certain. His eyes flicked to Dragonbinder in Sam's wavering grasp. Throw down the horn. Sam measured the distance between the dragon's head and the nearest guard. Too close. A single lash of its tail could sweep a dozen men over the parapet. Innocence would pay for any clash. He lifted his free hand in placation. Sir Brynden, please. The creature is bound to my call. Let me lead it from the city, for all our sakes. Bound? Brynden spat. Like a dog on leash. He gestured. Archers knocked arrows tipped with hissing vials. Wildfire files, Sam guessed. Terror pulsed in his veins. Wildfire upon a dragon might rupture like second doom, bathing half the city in green conflagration. He must avoid that. He took one step forward, palms open. Dragonbinder swung down, its mouthpiece clanging upon a flagstone. Even so, the horn continued to flicker ominous red along its glyphs. The dragon's eye tracked the motion. "Listen," Sam began. Words came haltingly but with inner iron. "Let me lead it over the Honeywine's mouth, out toward the sea. Once clear of Oldtown, I will find a solitary strand." "And what then?" Brynden cut in. "You keep it as pet? Bring it back on a whim? Burn rivals?" "Then trust it," Marwyn answered, voice silky. "Teaches it temperance. Dragons once guarded Valeria's greatness. Under wise hands, they can again serve order." Brendan's laugh rasped harsh. "Valeria, the freehold devoured itself on Dragonback. Order wrought from fear is tyranny." He raised his blade higher, dropped the horn. The archer lines tensed. On the rampart's far end, a lone green figure emerged. Maester Ibros, robe singed, face smeared with ash. He hurried between guards. "Hold!" Ibros cried. "Lower those arrows, Brynden. You will doom us all." "Nenemhoro. Back to your books, Maester." "Listen," Ibros urged, eyes flicking from Sam to Dragon. "I've read the city's chronicles. When Jaehaerys visited on Vermithor, Oldtown's folk welcomed him with songs because he came in peace. This creature is mighty beyond Vermithor's size, but dragons answer strength and steadiness, not steel and panic." Brynden hesitated, glancing at the Wyrm's glowing maw. Sam grasped the pause. "Sir, I will depart now. You and your men maintain distance. I swear by my chain and by the Night's Watch oath, though I wear neither black nor Maester's silver in full, that I seek no conquest." "In there." Brendan's lips compressed. He looked toward the burning harbor. Shrieks still rose beyond, but fewer. Perhaps flames killed screams, or throats had grown hoarse. He lowered his sword minimally. "If you betray this city," he said, "your head will decorate Battle Isle's gate should any stones remain to place it." Sam inclined in solemn nod. The guard lines parted just enough. Sam turned to the dragon, touched its muzzle anew. A thought came, wordless yet sharp. "Fly." The beast's pupils widened. He climbed one of the bastion's crumbled crenellations, hoisted himself onto a jutting stone, then to the dragon's foreleg, gripping scales like footholds of black onyx. Heat radiated but did not scald. He felt as though stepping across hearthstones warmed for comfort. Higher he climbed until he gained the ridge of its neck. Tattered membranes flicked overhead like sails in storm. He wrapped one hand about a jagged spike, knees braced against overlapping plates. Turbulent breath gusted from its nostrils. Marwyn called from below. "Take the eastern channel. I will scribe sigils to shield the harbor once you pass." Sam dared not answer, but pressed knees gently, guiding the beast toward the parapet's edge. It responded. Slowly, unsure, but wings snapped open. Gusts knocked guards from feet. With an earth-shaking leap, the dragon soared. Stone shattered under talons. Air rushed to meet them. Sam's stomach lilted skyward while city lights fell away. Wind combed his hair, tore sweat and soot from his skin. The Honeywine lay below like a ribbon of molten copper, dotted with charred hulls. Ahead stretched the open sea, black and beckoning. The dragon banked low over suburb rooftops, where panicked townsfolk pointed skyward, screams mingling with prayers. Yet no flame spilled from its jaws. Sam sensed its curiosity at these tiny flickering lives below. He murmured soothing nonsense, imagining cradle songs his mother sang long ago at Horn Hill. A seed of calm anchored within the beast's tempestuous mind. They cleared the harbor mouth. Cool ocean wind swept the last clinging embers off Sam's cloak. The dragon, feeling salt air in lungs free of city smoke, bellowed a roar that dwarfed thunderheads. Water fountained beneath its passage, blown into vortices trailing its tail. Sam spied a narrow spit of rocky shore. No houses, only crags where sea lions basked in summer. Perfect. He guided with pressure of knees. The dragon angled down, landed in a maelstrom of spray, claws crunching through brittle shale. Waves slapped its flanks, but evaporated before finding gaps between scales. Sam dismounted onto whetstone. Stars now peeked through thinning smoke. The worst of Oldtown's fires dimmed in distance, though orange flare still pulsed like a wounded heart. Sam rested a forearm across the dragon's neck. In its presence, he no longer smelled ash, only brine and the mineral tang of hot stone. "Easy," he whispered. The creature rumbled low. Sound closer to mountains yawning at dawn. It folded wings, crouched, eyes flicking along shoreline as if perplexed by peace. Sam found a fissure in its scales leaking pale light. Closer inspection revealed a scar, old, half-healed, but still glowing faintly as if molten ore beneath crust. What battles had this beast endured in bygone age? How long entombed beneath the sea's black cell? He sat upon a boulder, heartbeat slowing. Dragonbinder lay beside him, glyphs now dim, satisfied perhaps with obedience secured. Yet, thread-like pulses hinted its hunger slept, not died. He drank from a waterskin, washed soot from cuts. A distant splash drew his eye. Half-submerged ruins jutted farther along the spit, broken pillars encrusted with barnacles. Could those be fragments of ancient Valyrian outposts, lost in Doom's tsunami? If so, no wonder dragon eggs lay near. The beast padded toward them, sniffing rubble. It nosed stone aside, exposing an oblong cavity. Within, nestled in silt and kelp, lay an intact egg, large as a man's torso. Shell iridescent black shot through, with crimson veins, twin to those of Dragonbinder. The dragon crooned, a surprisingly gentle hum, and coiled around the egg in protective arc. Sam's breath caught. A living egg. That meant lineage. The beast was likely last guardian of its unborn kin, imprisoned beneath waves by past cataclysm or sorcery. Dragonbinder's call had not stolen it from rest, but freed it to fulfill ancient duty. He crouched, hands open. "I will not harm it," he said softly. The dragon's eye tracked him but remained serene. Moonlight glinted off shell. Sam reached to brush away seaweed. The shell was warm, pulsing faint. Life quickened inside. He remembered Maester Aemon's words in the dark of the Eastwatch galley. Dragons are not a weapon alone. They are a wonder, a beacon to a world grown small in faith. Above them, clouds parted, revealing the swords of the water's constellation. Sam considered omens. A sword, a dragon, an egg, and himself. Fat Sam, once frightened of shadows, now shepherd of myth. But Oldtown still smoldered. Innocent lives lost, chaos brewed. Even if he returned to claim remorse, high towers might hunt him as enemy. The city would brand him sorcerer, unleash faith militant upon him. Yet if he rode away hiding, they might slay the dragon's young out of terror. Sabotage hope. A decision shaped itself. He would not abandon the city to fear, nor deliver it to tyranny. He would return at dawn, bearing dragon and egg, offering service. To shield Oldtown, not scorch it. If they refused, he would depart for Dragonstone, pledge to Queen Daenerys if she still lived, or to rightful heirs wise enough to honor life. But first, prove goodwill. He looked to his scaled companion. "We must show them you can protect." The dragon huffed, as if humoring a small creature's plea. Sam laughed weakly, astonished to find humor amid ruin. Hours passed. Sam dozed against warm scale while tide ebbed, exposing more weathered ruins. Distant horizon paled rosy. Dawn crept, painting clouds peach. With sunrise came gulls, fearless of everything save hunger. They circled, shrieking. Sam roused the dragon with gentle taps. Time. It rose, stretching wings. Sam climbed once more, tucking the egg within a sling made of his cloak, secured across the beast's chest where heat would cradle hatchling life. They lifted off, spray fanning beneath. Sea shimmered pink and gold, hallowing them as they soared back toward Oldtown. Smoke columns thinned. Firefighters directed bucket chains where warehouses still smoldered. The high tower's flame, though quenched last night, flickered back to life, smaller, wavering, yet alive. On battlements, Bryndon's guards lined up, watchers wary but disciplined. Sam guided the dragon to circle slowly above town, head high, jaws closed. No fire, Only shadow across rooftops as evidence of presence. People below knelt, some in terror, some in awe. Septi bells tolled, hoarse, cracked, but clear in morning air. Atop Citadel's conclave tower, a white-robed convocation convened. Maesters Ebros, Astamont, Peristan, even blind Archmaester Velen, each bearing silver masks of office. They raised hands in gesture, half blessing, half entreaty. Sam descended into the rat pits, a broad fighting yard once used for flame tests, ample space free of dwellings. Soldiers ringed perimeter. As Dragon's talons touched soil, dust plume rose. Sam dismounted, egg cradled. He approached Brynden Hightower, who stepped forward warily. "No fire," Sam said, throat raw but words firm. "It obeys. I will help douse remaining embers. Afterwards we must speak on how Dragon might guard, against winter whites, against pirates, but not against your own folk." "No." Brynden's gaze slid to Egg Sling, then to Dragon's watchful eye. "You offer bargain?" "I offer partnership," Sam answered. "And sanctuary for a mother and child, hidden within library crypts, who have done naught but fear flame." Brynden considered. Behind him, maesters murmured among themselves. At last, the knight nodded curtly. "Help extinguish the wharf fires. Prove restraint. We will parley at noon within the Hightower court. Until then, your steed remains under my sight." "Niendal." Sam accepted. He climbed once more. The dragon vaulted skyward, wing beats fanning torrid winds that sucked oxygen from flames, choking them. Where fire flared, Sam directed Dragon to beat wings downward, stirring cyclones of soot that robbed flames of breath. Where ember pockets lingered, the dragon exhaled, not fire but a pressurized gout of steam conjured from lake-scooped water swallowed moments before. Within hours, the worst of Infernos died, leaving charred shells, but no longer raging hearts. As sun climbed, townsfolk ventured from hiding. Some cheered timidly, others scattered before swirling ash. Children pointed skyward, eyes wide with wonder at scaled savior painting contrails within morning haze. Noon neared. Sam guided Dragon to alight upon Hightower's seawall. Lord Leighton himself, gaunt and gray, emerged flanked by his daughter, Melora the Mad Maid, her eyes alight with curiosity. Maesters had set up a makeshift dais draped in charred banners bearing new sigil hastily sewn. A beacon wreathed in dragon wings. Sam dismounted, presenting Egg. "New dawn," he said simply. "A promise." Melora stepped forward, palms cradling shell. Tears glistened in her eyes as she pressed ear against Egg. "Heartbeat," she murmured. Lord Leighton's stern mask cracked. An arthritic hand touched shell reverently. Brynden addressed assembled crowd. "Oldtown endures through knowledge, faith, and courage. Last night, courage forged alliance with flame." He gestured to Sam. "This man risked life to call destruction, and then to command it away. We stand witness that knowledge tempered by heart can steer fire." Sam bowed. "I am no lord, only a brother of the Night's Watch, a novice maester in all but chain, and a father in all but blood. Yet if Oldtown grants sanctuary to those I cherish, and treats Dragonkin with dignity, I will serve." A hush. Then Leighton spoke, voice cracked like tower bells. "Sanctuary granted. Service earned." He lifted Egg high, letting sun sparkle along its veins. "Oldtown once feared dragons. Now we shall study them, cherish them, guard them." Cheers rose reluctant, then roaring as relief finally broke fear's dam. Bells rang anew, each peal less panicked, more triumphant. On ramparts, soldiers lowered wildfire arrows, replaced them with white pennants. The dragon, sensing shift from threat to welcome, settled like a cathedral roof, come alive, wings folding elegantly. His gaze drifted to Sam, pupils softening. He placed a hand upon warm muzzle, feeling pulse of ancient heart sensed with his own. Night fell gentle, unbroken by screams. Fires guttered out, leaving smoking ruins but also unscathed districts where life resumed. Fisherfolk repaired nets, bakers kneaded dough beneath flour dust motes glowing in lamplight. And at the Citadel's highest gallery, Sam watched candles light beneath fresh clean glass, their colored flames no longer imitations of warning, but vigil in memory of those lost. Gilly joined him, babe at breast. She tucked herself beneath his arm, gazing at Dragon perched like living gargoyle upon distant parapet. "He's beautiful," she whispered. "Ha," Sam echoed, then smiled. Or she. I cannot tell. The babe cooed, and somewhere far across the square, the dragon rumbled softly in response. As though lulled by the same lullaby, months would pass, and treaties would form. Between Oldtown's banners, the Citadel's scholars, and Queen Daenerys' envoys sailing on rumor of new dragon rise. But on this night, peace settled fragile but real, bound not by fear of fire, but by a promise forged in its hottest heart. Sam closed his eyes. For the first time since leaving Castle Black, silence felt like blessing, not omen. He tasted salt of tears and sea breeze, and the faint lingering tang of horn-forged smoke. He held his family close, while dragon dreams unfurled golden wings above, and the egg pulsed warm with the beat of tomorrows yet to blaze. Dawn succeeded dawn, each sunrise gilding the scorched roofs of Oldtown in gentler light, as if the gods themselves stroked soot-blackened slate, with brushes dipped in mercy. In the weeks that followed the Night of the Horn, laborers swarmed the charred warehouses like determined ants rebuilding a hive after wildfire, hoisting new beams that smelled of fresh-hewn cedar. Merchants favored by fortune haggled for every remaining keg of tar, and the Hightower's stone facade, once smoke-stained, gleamed again beneath scaffolds where masons, roped together like pilgrims on some perilous peak, chipped away scorched layers to reveal the pale glory beneath. Yet all these endeavors, busy as they seemed, felt muted in comparison with the towering presence that haunted every vantage of the city. The black Wyrm Samwell Tarly had summoned, now christened Amatherax by Maester Astamont, whose fondness for archaisms insisted the name translate to Breath of Night's Vault. Most townsfolk shortened the name to Thorax when they dared speak it at all, muttering over cups of watered ale about the omen of a serpent strangling the night sky. But fears softened as the creature proved docile under Sam's quiet guidance. Where once archers quivered at every wing beat, fishermen now pointed him out to visiting cousins, puffing chests in pride that their harbor boasted a sight no other port could claim. Thorax's daily circuits evolved into ritual. At first light, he lifted from his crag outside the harbor, sweeping low to skim the Honeywine's mirror-smooth water, then climbing in lazy spirals past the Citadel's turrets, before settling upon the Hightower's reinforced bastion, wings furled like wet sails drying in windless harbor mornings. Sam had feared the Hightowers might resent the dragon's occupation of centuries-old stone, but Lord Leighton surprised him by declaring the beast fitting company for our ancient beacon. The Lord went so far as to commission a platform of oak and bronze atop the Hightower, furnished with iron-bound troughs of seawater into which Thorax might dip talons still smoldering from nightly dreams. Each trough hissed and steamed at dawn, and the rising mist gave the lighthouse an aura of dragon-made cloud that travelers mistook for ghostly banners welcoming them to a city reborn. In those same dawns, Sam woke from cramped sleep inside a modest chamber he shared with Gilly and little Aaron. Not her babe's true name, but one bestowed by Maester Ebros to honor Aaron Hightower, whose scrolls on dragon lore now guided half the Citadel's novices. The room overlooked the Oldtown pyre yard, and each morning the sea breeze carried salt-minted air that lifted Gilly's braids like pennants while she fed the child. Sam would sit beside her on the sill, Dragonbinder cradled across his knees like a reluctant heirloom too dangerous to store elsewhere. Its glyphs had faded to ember gray, slumbering yet ever aware of his pulse. He studied the horn in those quiet hours, tracing each vein with fingertips bandaged still, searching for meaning in its alien artistry. Archmaester Marwyn visited often, sometimes in the hush before dawn, sometimes long after midnight candles had guttered into puddles of memory. He quizzed Sam on every nuance of the dragon's behavior. How many heartbeats between breaths? How long the flames maintained blue core before turning yellow? How the nictitating membrane shimmered when tasting fog off the bay? Marwyn lived now in a chamber little larger than Sam's, having forsaken his previous office for proximity to the Wyrm. He wore soot-grayed robes and smelled ever of cinnamon, nightshade, and brine from 100 tinctures rubbed into thorax's scales to test reactions. "Dragons are alchemical wonders," he would narrate, eyes aflame. "Their essences teach truths that cauldrons can only mimic." Yet for all the mage's fervor, Sam trusted more the gentle companionship of Maester Ibros, whose scroll rooms he frequented. They pored together over the annals of Gormalin, which described a practice of presenting newborn dragons with obsidian orbs inscribed with rune scratches meant to teach obedience. Ibros suggested replicating such orbs, and Sam spent an afternoon in the glassmith's quarter supervising the grinding of black volcanic glass imported at great cost from Dragonstone. Thorax watched from the high tower, head tilted curiously, and when Sam returned at sunset bearing a fist-sized polished sphere etched with the old tongue for peace, the dragon's pupils dilated like twin eclipses. He nudged the orb with gentle muzzle until it rolled toward the water trough. Then, with precise flick, he plunged it into the brine. Steam hissed, and the orb emerged coated in mineral frost that evaporated in Sam's palm. The experiment taught the maesters little about enchantment, but demonstrated Thorax's delicate strength, and Sam could not help but laugh when Gilly teased that their overgrown kettle wanted nothing more than new toys. In quieter corridors of the Citadel, debate raged as fiercely as any forge. The conclave convened thrice weekly, discussing the implications of Sam's horn and dragon. Some archmaesters argued that dragons belonged in custody of the Iron Throne, that Sam had usurped royal prerogative. Others argued the Citadel, as seat of knowledge, should claim guardianship. A small but vocal faction, led by Archmaester Peristan, whispered of forging a new order of dragon maesters who would ride the beasts as once the Valyrians did, thus ensuring balanced power between crown and faith. These arguments leaked into tavern talk, fueling speculation of future wars waged in Oldtown's name. Yet at each time, factional heat rose dangerously high. Lord Leighton convened his small council atop the lighthouse, where Sam would speak softly of burden, not power, and remind them that Thorax's flames had slain dozens already by mere accident of awakening. It was sobering to count charred gatehouses and scorched gardens as the price of a single call from Dragonbinder. If politics cast long shadows, the egg cast longer, glowing faintly warmer with each new moon. Maester Astamont, who seldom left the egg side, claimed he could hear distant rushing water within the shell, like tides colliding with molten stone. He and Marwyn argued daily over how to hasten hatching. Astamont favored steady warmth and lullabies of Valyrian prayers. Marwyn championed shock methods. Plunge the egg into scalding seawater, then roll it through cold ash to mimic volcanic pulses. Sam listened, torn, until he confronted them both one chilly sunset in the Dragon Roost, where Thorax coiled protectively around the egg, like a sworn sentinel. "No more experiments," Sam insisted, voice firmer than he felt. "Let nature decide the hour." He reminded them that his Night's Watch oath, though now frayed, still forbid fathering children. Caring for this dragon child, then, was as close to fatherhood as duty allowed. Astamont relented with gracious nod, but Marwyn stormed off muttering that wonders demanded catalysts. Gilly, sensing Sam's melancholy after each such clash, persuaded him to show her the city's newly sown relief gardens outside Mander Gate. They walked beneath budding lemon trees planted by the faith militant to honor the dead, and each perfumed breeze reminded Sam of days marching south from the wall, when he still believed the world a tapestry of fixed patterns. Gilly squeezed his hand. "Thorax is like us," she said, eyes reflecting lamplight. Awakened by pain, made shy by loud voices, yet learning to breathe again. Her insight warmed him more than sunlight, and he wondered whether the Citadel might do better granting Gilly a link of its own, for wisdom rather than scholarship. The first messenger from the north arrived by Raven on a silk-wrapped cylinder, addressed to Maester Ibros but clearly penned by Jon Snow's unmistakable hand. "Winter marches. I have rallied free folk and lords loyal. Dragonfire may turn the tide. If Sam yet lives, send word." Sam's fingers trembled as he read, memories of icy marches surging back. He brought the message to Lord Leighton and the conclave, but arguments erupted anew. Peristan cautioned that if Sam flew north, Oldtown lost its shield. Marwyn claimed Thorax's role was to ignite hearts of southern lords against ice whites. Astamont feared the eggs hatching could fail without Thorax's presence. During one heated session, the High Septon himself appeared, flanked by silent sisters. The smell of anointing oils filled the chamber. He urged caution, quoting the seven-pointed star. Send not dragonfire into the realm lest it sear the innocent along with the damned. Yet when he finished, he approached Sam, laid trembling hand on Sam's scorched palm, and whispered, "But if your dragon redeems what fire has taken, perhaps the gods forgive its birth." Sam saw tears in the old man's eyes, and understanding flickered. The High Septon had counted kin among those lost in the fiery warehouses. That night, Sam climbed the Hightower steps alone, Dragonbinder slung across his back. Lanterns guttered as wind buffeted high windows. Thorax reclined on the platform, eyes half-lidded. Sam sat beside the beast's massive head, shoulders brushing warm scale. Sea below surged, moonlight carving ripples into silver shards. He spoke aloud to the night. He spoke of duty, fear, love, of Joan's letter, of the wall that birthed his courage, of the lives in Oldtown who now regarded Thorax with awe rather than terror. He told the Wyrm that north lay a darkness swallowing whole kingdoms, and that dragonfire was the lone song the dead feared. Thorax did not answer in words, but his great chest expanded, exhaled plume of white steam that shimmered in moonlight, like ghost breath fleeing skyward. Sam felt an echo in his bones, a willingness, perhaps, to follow him once more into the unknown. At dawn, Sam sought Lord Leighton, flanked by Gilly, who carried Aaron in a sling. Thorax crouched behind them on the Hightower yard. Maester Abros and Astamont attended. Even Marwyn came, though with eyes red-rimmed from sleepless alchemical trials. Sam knelt before the Lord of the Hightower. "My lord, Winter's army advances. I beg leave to bear Thorax north, that his flame might hold the darkness at bay. In return, I pledge to return with egg and dragon to defend Oldtown when threat is ended." Gilly lifted Aaron slightly and added, "And I pledge to tend the egg and any wounded who need care." Her voice trembled, yet rang clear as bronze. Lord Leighton studied them long, while gulls wheeled overhead. Finally, he spoke. "Oldtown's light must shine far beyond its walls. Go, Samwell Tarley. Go with my blessing. But remember, flame can guide ships home or burn fleets whole. Guard your heart from pride." Brynden stepped forward, presenting Sam with a polished breastplate etched with the lighthouse sigil. "Steel to match resolve," he said. Sam accepted, though the metal felt alien compared to black wool once worn at Castle Black. Preparations began that hour. Marwyn produced leather harness cleverly stitched with Berber knots to seat both rider and passenger. Astamont packed books of instruction on medicinal herbs that grow in frozen soils. Gilly gathered bundles of woolen wraps, humming lullabies while Thorax watched. Dragonbinder was lashed across Sam's back, heavy as regret, yet lighter than he remembered, its hunger sleeping, though he feared it might wake should Thorax falter. As they packed, the egg pulsed bright enough that lantern wicks turned jealous green. Sam feared moving it, but Thorax's gentle rumble suggested trust. Maester Astamont swaddled the shell in layers of lamb's wool, then nested it in a wicker cradle, bound to Thorax's foreshoulder. The Wyrm nosed the parcel once, nostrils flaring approval. On the eve of departure, the Citadel's bells tolled long and low. Novices lined the causeway beneath flaming brands, chanting hymns of knowledge. The High Septon blessed dragon and riders alike, sprinkling scented water that hissed where it touched Thorax's hot hide. Aaron giggled at the steam. Sam laughed too, though tears blurred his vision. Then sky turned purple, and with one shattering beat of wings, they rose. The crowd's gasp fell away like pebbles into chasm. Thorax soared above Hightower's lantern flame. Sam looked down to see Oldtown shrinking into labyrinth of lights, each flicker a life he vowed to protect. Gilly's arms circled his waist. Aaron cooed, fearless in mother's warmth. The egg's glow painted Thorax's scales from below, a fiery lantern guiding their pilgrimage. They followed the coast, waves foaming white beneath moonlit cliffs. Thorax kept low to water at Sam's urging, skirting villages to avoid panic. Fishing boats spotted them nevertheless. Some lit signal fires. Others prostrated themselves, believing a god now roamed the shoreline. Sam sent silent prayers that rumor outran fear. That next day small folk learned dragonfire served them, not their ruin. On the second night, they made landfall at a lonely strand south of King's Landing. Debris of an ancient watchtower provided hollow where Thorax could rest while Sam foraged. Gilly milked a nanny goat, startled half-mad by dragon arrival. Aran drank greedily. Thorax curled around them, making a windbreak, heat radiating so pleasantly that Sam shed his cloak despite frost-rimmed dune grasses. Near midnight, hoofbeats approached. Thorax lifted head, scales clinking. Out of darkness rode three figures bearing torch and banners of a crowned stag. Sam stepped forward, breastplate glinting. The lead rider, a grizzled sergeant, removed helm, revealing scar-crossed face. By orders of King Gendry Baratheon, he barked, and Sam started at that. All dragons answer the capital's call. He eyed Dragonbinder hungrily. Come south, or be taken. Sam's stomach lurched. Rumor of Robert's bastard crowned king after Cersei's fall had trickled to Oldtown months before, but Sam had dismissed it as tavern gossip. Now the claim shimmered in torchlight. He stood firm. My mission is north, winter's dead march. I ride for Jon Snow's command. The sergeant sneered. Snow, for all titles he has, wears no crown. The true king needs dragonfire against pretenders. He gestured behind him. More horsemen emerged. Thorax rumbled low. Sam raised a staying hand. Violence here serves naught. He drew breath and did what once seemed impossible. He called Thorax with whistle alone, a three-note cadence learned by trial during coastal flight. The dragon responded, lowering neck to Sam's touch. We go. Sam told the riders. Tell your king the north bleeds. He vaulted onto the saddle, Gilly behind, egg secured. Thorax surged skyward in column of sand. Arrows launched upward, but fletchings burst to ash and thermal gale. From vantage of stars, Sam watched torches dwindle, each arrow's spark extinguished like misguided hope. They avoided King's Landing thereafter, carving inland over the Blackwater Rush, then turning northwest across rolling Kingswood Hills dusted by early frost. Villages nestled like sleeping mice in fields of stubble. Chimneys offered wisps of charcoal smoke that dissipated before Thorax's slipstream. Twice, groups of mounted knights gave chase until Thorax climbed into Cloudbank, so dense riders' shouts muffled beneath gray cotton. On the fifth day, just beyond the neck's marshy channels, thick snow began drifting on wind that tasted of iron. Sam felt the wall long before sight of it, the same muted thunder and bones had known seasons ago. Like heartbeat of a frozen titan. Gilly shivered despite layers. Thorax's heat shielded them, but air bit exposed cheeks. They landed at Queen's Crown ruins to rest. There, free folk families huddled by peat fires, faces gaunt yet defiant. When Thorax descended, children shrieked. Mothers brandished spears, but one tall spearwife approached, recognition shining. Val, Mance Rayder's sister-in-law, whom Sam had once met on that fearful mission beyond the wall. She stared up, eyes wide as sky, then smiled and lowered her weapon. Brother Crow, she called. You found new wings. She welcomed them, offering seal meat stew and tales of white warbands harrying lakeside camps. Sam listened while studying the horizon where greenish fires flickered at night. Ghastly glow of dead men's eyes, Val claimed. At dawn they soared north again, crossing the last river, passing skirmish lines where wildling archers loosed flaming arrows into ranks of dead, only to retreat as new corpses rose. Thorax blasted sheets of white-hot flame that swept across ice-packed ravines, fusing snow to glass and toppling brittle bodies like frost-hollow trees. Sam felt Dragonbinder thrumming faintly with each kill, as though the horn drank echoes of flame-forged death. He tightened its bindings, wary. They reached Winterfell by late afternoon, the great castle half shrouded in scaffolds, its towers under repair from last year's horrors. Snow fell thick, but Thorax's arrival melted flakes into hiss of instant steam. Stark banners snapped in wind. Wolf of gray on white field, now quartered with dragon emblem hastily stitched in red. Atop ramparts figures waved. Jon Snow in lordly furs, Lady Sansa in cloak of direwolf silver. Arya perched like silent shadow. Sam's heart brimmed. He had not realized how much he missed these friends until he saw their eyes shining with belief that hope indeed flew on dragon wings. Thorax settled in the Godswood clearing, careful not to crush sacred weirwood roots. Ghost emerged from snowy brush, circled the dragon with wary curiosity. Thorax lowered muzzle and sniffed. Direwolf and dragon regarded each other, two remnants of ancient ages meeting under bleeding heart tree. Ghost raised head and barked once. Thorax huffed smoky reply. Sam laughed, tears freezing on lashes. He dismounted, embraced Jon, who clasped him fiercely, murmuring, "Brother." Gilly stepped into Sansa's arms. Arryn gurgled at Arya's outstretched fingers. That evening, the great hall burned bright with braziers. Free folk and Northmen mingled, united by awe. Sam recounted Oldtown's night of terror, the egg's promise, the decision to come. Jon listened gravely. "The dead push south along both coasts now," he said, tracing maps scarred by wine stains and tears. "A dragon can shatter their ranks, but I fear Dragonbinder's nature." He laid calloused hand on the horn. "Power has price." Sam nodded. "I only blow it in dire need." Thorax obeys without horn, most times. Their eyes met with shared worry. During their councils, word arrived of Queen Daenerys holding Dragonstone once more, her fleet anchored beyond the painted cliffs. Rumor claimed she commanded 2 dragons still, Rhaegal and Viserion, and sought alliance with the North despite Southern Lord's displeasure. Jon resolved to ride south to treat with her, but the Whites' pace accelerated, forcing change. Daenerys would fly north instead, meeting them at Winterfell with her dragons. Ravens soared into night, bearing urgent pleas. While they waited, Sam spent days teaching Thorax the crisscross flight patterns above Wintertown, careful that Bath of Flame never touched dwelling. He and Jon drilled combined tactics. Spearmen draw dead into bottleneck, then Thorax sweeps overhead with controlled blast. Defenders retreat behind wall of charred ice. Arya, never one to sit idle, climbed onto Thorax's back in secret and demanded lesson. Sam scolded yet admired her nerve. He allowed short ride above fields where russet foxes darted across snow. Arya's laugh rang like steel on whetstone. The egg resided in Winterfell's glass gardens, nestled among hot springs that carpeted stones in soft moss. Gilly and Sansa visited daily, reading extracts from the unnatural history of dragons aloud, though Arryn's babbling more often drowned arcane prose. One crisp twilight, as steam drifted through arbor windows, the shell cracked with sound like distant thunder. Gilly gasped. Sansa reached for Sam, who sprinted across damp flagstones. The fissure widened, leaking ember-orange light. Thorax, though resting beyond walls, lifted head and roared a deep answering note that vibrated halls. Northmen gathered in Godswood, eyes reflecting glow that shone like sunrise. With final crack, the shell parted, an out-slipped creature no larger than a mastiff, slick with iridescent fluid. Shimmering wings pressed tight against body blacker than midnight, but veins glowed red like hot coals. Its eyes opened, fiery gold. It chirped, a sound between eagle cry and crackle of burning log. Thorax crashed through gate arch, ignoring startled guards, and bowed neck low. The hatchling tottered toward giant parent, tiny claws clicking over stone, then pressed beneath Thorax's throat, piping contentment. The sight silenced hardened warriors. Even grim Clegane, standing near fire pit, muttered, "7 bloody hells," before turning away to hide damp eyes. Sam knelt, heart pounding. He extended hand. The hatchling sniffed. Heat nearly blistered his skin, yet he endured till small muzzle nudged his palm. Tears blurred his vision. He named her Emberlyn, combining Old Valyrian for hope and Northern tongue for spark. News of birth raced on raven wings. By week's end, banners of many colors approached Winterfell. Arryn Falcon, Tully Trout, even Martell Sunspear, carried by envoys braving frost for promise of alliance. Yet shadows lengthened. Scouts returned with tales of ice giant bones reanimated, of blizzards that howled human screams. John stood upon parapets nights on end, watching northern horizon where aurora danced unnatural green behind wall of storm clouds. He turned to Sam one sleepless dawn. "We fight soon. With 3 dragons now, maybe we stand." His eyes, though, told of doubts deeper than words. Then horns sounded from sky. 2 shapes, immense yet graceful, cut patterns through snow-laden clouds. Emerald Rhaegal and cream gold Viserion. Upon Rhaegal's back rode Daenerys Targaryen, silver hair rippling like comet tail, unsullied banners streaming behind. She landed in courtyard, sliding from saddle before dragons settled, her boots crunching frost. Jon strode forth. Their eyes met. Words dissolved into embrace, churning court rumors for years to come. Sam approached timidly. Daenerys thanked him, voice lilting with gratitude but shadowed by grief of lost Drogon. At King's Landing, months passed. She studied Thorax warily. He dwarfed her dragons yet bowed head low, acknowledging kin. Daenerys murmured Valyrian lullaby. Thorax's eyelids drooped, charmed. She laughed, a sound like ice bells. "He answers older blood than mine," she told Sam. "But he is gentle spirit." Councils resumed grander than before. Stark, Targaryen, Arryn, Tully, Mormont, free folk chieftains, even a Baratheon envoy who braved snow to sue truce. In timber-walled hall echoing with crackling hearths, strategies formed. 3 adult dragons would strike main white host outside last hearth, while Emberlin and Ghost guarded Winterfell's crypts, where refugees huddled. Sam argued to deploy Thorax in sweeping arcs to contain reanimating corpses behind trenches of dragonglass stakes. Marwyn, who arrived on last supply caravan, he refused to miss history, insisted they affix alchemical pyres to dragon harnesses, releasing wildfire torrents. Sam and Jon vetoed. Wildfire too indiscriminate. The eve of battle came shrouded in silence, unnatural. Snowflakes falling straight without wind like ashes of an enormous unseen pyre. Warriors lined ramparts, cloaks snapping, blades coated in dragonglass. Sam donned breastplate. Over it, the battered black cloak he retrieved from stores. Night's Watch still beating in his chest. Gilly kissed him, eyes proud, not tearful. She had grown into steel disguised as gentle smile. She would shelter in crypts with Arryn, Sansa, and Emberlin. On wide plain north of Winterfell, torches traced semicircular pattern marking battleground. Beyond flickered spectral blue lights, eyes of whites massing, thousands upon thousands, ranks stretching to horizon. Giants of bone lumbered behind them, rib cages rattling like dead trees in gale. Above, storm clouds roiled, crackling with unnatural lightning that illuminated the Night King, astride monstrous undead wyvern Viserion's dark twin. Charcoal wings, torn yet still beating death-cold air. Jon mounted Rhaegal, Daenerys Viserion. Sam climbed atop Thorax, Dragonbinder strapped but silent. They rose in synchronized ballet. 3 living dragons against 1 fallen. Auroras shattered as Thorax burst through cloud deck, releasing roar that split mountain silence. Below, Northmen cheered. Battle erupted in blinding fury. Rhaegal and Viserion swooped, unleashing emerald and golden fire that carved swaths through white legions, fusing snow into obsidian glass fields, across which corpses stumbled, limbs melting. Thorax climbed high then dove steep, angling jaws to blast column of blue-white flame that met undead wyvern's icy breath mid-air, forging swirling vortex of steam and shards. Night King brandished spear of pale crystal, hurling it toward Thorax. Sam leaned as shaft whistled past, striking hillside, freezing earth into brittle glacier with explosive crack. Thorax rolled, sword behind, unleashing fury that scorched wyvern's tail clean off. Night King wobbled yet steadied, raising arms. Dead giants lurched forward, hurling boulders like Siege engines. Thorax dipped, flame-cutting stones to red slag raining sparks. On ground, Jon led cavalry charge alongside free folk, mammoths armored in woven bronze plates. They collided with white ranks, shredding brittle bones. Arya and the Hound darted among gaps, Valyrian blades flashing. North's trenches ignited as Bran, bound to weirwood beneath crypts, channeled arcane wildfire through dragonglass powder-lining ditches. Purple flames taller than ramparts, yet still dead poured, climbing over charred comrades. High above, storm deepened into vortex. Snow transformed into razors. Sam's teeth chattered though Thorax's heat radiated through leather. Night King ascended through gale, spear gleaming lightning. Sam felt Dragonbinder stir, its hunger resonating with horn of ice the Night King held at his belt. Two artifacts of opposing songs recognized each other, their harmonies clashing invisible yet deafening in Sam's skull. He clutched horn, tempted to blow, to challenge, to command even the dead. Fear seized him. Power had priced too steep. He shouted above wind, "No!" Titan strapped to muzzle. Thorax bellowed agreement, banking away from spear thrust that carved vacuum through snow, ripped cloud to jagged wound. Below, a giant white breached trenches, smashing into Winterfell's outer wall. Catapults fired dragonglass shards, pieces embedded in ancient flesh, sparking blue flashes. Ghost leapt, slashing hamstrings. Emberlin, perched on tower, shrieked and spat first flame, tiny but fierce, igniting the giant's hair. The monster toppled, shaking rampart. Emberlin fluttered down, landing triumphantly upon singed scalp. Night King hurled second spear, this time toward Rhaegal. Jon veered too late. Shaft pierced wing membrane, sending green dragon spinning. Thorax dove, intercepting Rhaegal's fall, locking claws with injured dragon, stabilizing descent until both landed heavily beyond trenches. Jon tumbled into snow. Sam dismounted and sprinted, helping friend stand. Jon's eyes wide, he grabbed Sam's shoulders. "Horn may turn his dead," he gasped. Blood on lip. Sam shook head. "Or doom us." They shared desperate glance. Jon looked to Thorax, then to White's surging anew. "Your choice, Sam." Sam's breath steamed. Dragonbinder pulsed hotter. He recalled Oldtown's charred warehouses, the sergeant's threat on Southern Strand, the child Emberlin's fragile chirps. He weighed souls. Then, kneeling beside Horn, he pressed forehead to its cold glass. "I bind life, not death." He rose, leaving Horn in snow. Instead, he mounted Thorax once more, beckoned Rhaegal, the wing torn. Both dragons leapt, Sam and Jon side by side. Daenerys, spying them, signaled Viserion. Trio formed wedge charging Night King head-on. What followed became song in later years. Three living dragons weaving spiral dance beneath fractured aurora, crossing breaths of gold, green, and white-hot silver to forge prismatic storm. In its heart, undead wyvern struggled, wings disintegrating under relentless heat. Night King raised final spear, but flames melted crystal before hand could cast. With scream like glaciers shattering, he toppled, plummeting into maelstrom below. When he struck earth, entire white host stuttered, trembled, then shattered as if struck by unseen hammer. Bones collapsed into dust, blue fire extinguished. Silence enveloped battlefield. Snow settled delicate upon glass fields where moments earlier torrents of death had marched. Soldiers knelt, prayers whispered on frigid air. Thorax landed at Winterfell's gate, bellow that echoed across dawn now brightening east. Sun rose, painting snow in soft peach hues, revealing blank whiteness where grave threats once stood. Sam slid from Thorax, legs jelly. Jon clasped his arm. Daenerys touched Thorax's muzzle with respect. Emberlin fluttered down, curling at Sam's feet, tiny chest heaving. Sam knelt and wept, not from sorrow but from exhaustion and gratitude, tears freezing before they could fall. In aftermath, mourning mixed with triumph. Pyres burned nightlong, smoke spiraling heavenward, carrying songs of the living and ashes of the fallen. Bran, eyes milk pale, pronounced that balance restored, but warned vigilance eternal. Council convened to decide fate of Dragonbinder. Sam presented Horn to forge within Winterfell's ancient crypt furnace melting glass into inert slag. Marwan protested. Jon supported destruction. With Daenerys' steady gaze sealing decision, Sam hurled Horn into furnace fed by dragonflame. It screamed, a keening that pierced stone, then cracked, veins bleeding molten red, and collapsed into pool that cooled to dull obsidian. Powerless. Spring's first thaw arrived early that year, as though dragon's fire warmed not just bodies but seasons. Fields around Winterfell sprouted timid green, crocuses poked through meltwater. Thorax and Emberlin roosted near hot springs, relishing warmth in northern chill. Daenerys soon departed south to quell lords restless, but she left Viserion behind under Sam's care, gift for North's defense and symbol of new alliance. Rhaegal healed slowly, wing mended by Maester's salves and Thorax's patient company. One violet dusk, Sam and Gilly stood atop repaired battlement. Arryn toddled between them, chasing shadows of ravens. In valley below, free folk erected homes of pine and thawed stone, smoke curling benign. Ghost and Emberlin raced along riverbank, one white blur, one fiery spark. Overhead Thorax soared, wings catching last light, a living constellation. Sam whispered, "Fear once ruled me, now wonder." Gilly leaned into him, hair smelling of sage bread from supper. "Wonder needs gentle crown," she said. He smiled. They watched Thorax wheel, free of Horn's command, free of Doom's shadow, and new world had changed, not by throne or sword, but by heart that chose not domination but guardianship. Far off, bells of Oldtown would someday ring in joy when Sam returned. The Citadel would forge him a new chain link, dragonglass perhaps, and record his deeds. Yet for now, in quiet between wars, he chose present over history. He lifted Arryn onto shoulders, pointing skyward. Child squealed, arms outstretched, as if he too would fly. Thorax roared softly, circling once above parapet, then soared into sunset, bearing hopes of kingdoms stitched by flame and frost into single tapestry glimpsed only by those who dare to dream.